last paragraph of the letter read, "So Jim, we of the High School Homecoming Celebration Committee sincerely hope you can be with us and all your old classmates next month. As you will know, this is the first time we've ever attempted to get everyone together for a class reunion. It's been a long time since those wonderful high school days, and we will, I'm sure, have much to talk about. Regards, Richard Martin, Chairman." Here's the reply. "Dear Richard, I regret I will not be with you for the class reunion. I must be frank and tell you that it's neither the press of business nor the lack of time that precludes my being there. Rather it's fear. Fear that something very precious to me might be destroyed, the memories of those days. Those days filled with the wonderful bewilderment of youth, where we were lean and eager, absurdly naive, summertime free, and hopelessly in love with living. I like to pretend that the people and the places are still there, just as they were when I last saw them. And sometimes, when it's important that I remember what being young was like, I go back in my memory to those days. If I were to see them now, the people and the places and the changes time has brought, my little game of make-believe would be over. It would fade into the world of reality that is, I believe, too much with us. There would be middle-aged people where children were supposed to be, fat where there was once muscle, and wrinkles would replace dimples on certain freckled faces. So, if you will, Richard, give my regrets and tell them all that I'll be thinking about them. And when you hear them tell each other they've changed, tell them that to me they haven't. Yours sincerely." I have to say that for me, I sometimes think about my old friends, and I sometimes think that I haven't seen them for so many years. Most of my closest school friends I now haven't seen for 22, 23, 25 years. But would I want to meet them now? I've pondered this over the years, and do you know, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I would want them to see me now. This youth that used to be 9 stone wet through, now 3 stones heavier, starting to kind of recede a little. Okay, well, totally bald. Wearing specs when I never did wear specs before until much later in life. I have changed so much, and I guess they would have changed too. But I'm also not sure that I would want to meet them because I don't think it would change anything. We might exchange telephone numbers or email addresses, but afterwards things would just carry on as normal. I think to me a reunion would make so little difference. The book of Mark recalls this one reunion in Mark chapter 16. When Jesus rose early on the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene, out of whom he had driven 7 demons. She went and told those who had been with him and who were mourning and weeping. When they heard that Jesus was alive and that she had seen him, they did not believe it. Afterward, Jesus appeared in a different form to 2 of them while they were walking in the country. They returned and reported it to the rest, but they did not believe them either. Later, Jesus appeared to the 11 as they were eating. He rebuked them for their lack of faith and their stubborn refusal to believe those who had seen him after he had risen. He said to them, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creation. Whoever believes and is baptized will be saved, but whoever does not believe will be condemned. And these signs will accompany those who believe. In my name they will drive out demons. They will speak in new tongues. They will pick up snakes with their hands, and when they drink deadly poison, it will not hurt them at all. They will place their hands on sick people and they will get well." After the Lord Jesus had spoken to them, he was taken up into heaven and he sat at the right hand of God. Then the disciples went out and preached everywhere, and the Lord worked with them and confirmed his word by the signs that accompanied it. So last week, the resurrection. The next major thing we see is the ascension. Jesus returns to heaven. We kind of just read about it. But we maybe overlook the gap between the one and the other, this 40-day gap. What happened in that gap? What happened in this period of time? Maybe you're kind of like me. Does the Bible sometimes really frustrate you? Here it is, we just read it, everything that Mark records after the resurrection. That's kind of all he tells us, which covers this 40-day gap. Put yourself in the disciples' shoes. Imagine their shock. First of all, they've gone through the crucifixion and everything must be really numb and dulled for them. You kind of know what it's like when you get a really bad shock, something really kind of hits you and makes things really difficult. They've got the crucifixion to contend with, and I guess for those 2-3 days they're just trying to get their head around it. I'm sure they wouldn't be able to think about anything else at the time. And then comes the resurrection. The trouble is that we read it in the Bible and we just think, well, that's just something that happened. It is amazing, it is a miracle. The trouble is we know the rest of the story. We know kind of the precursor to this. We know what's going to happen all the way along when we read the Bible. Yet the disciples didn't. Put yourselves in the shoes of these followers. How much of a shock is first the crucifixion and then the resurrection? And maybe they're just getting used to the idea that Jesus has died. Maybe they're just getting used to the idea that this person who they've followed for 3 years, who they've given up on their own lives for to follow and learn from and be taught by and emulate, has gone. Maybe they're just getting used to that idea when Jesus reappears, resurrected. Sometimes reacquainting ourselves can be quite painful. You know, things are never quite the same. You go to the reunion, the class reunion, and make polite conversation and then just move on with your life. You kind of realise that everybody's life has moved on and the encounter can be bittersweet, but nothing changes. This wasn't the case with the followers of Jesus. From this moment on, everything changes. I guess when they saw him, it must have been another shock. It took a while to maybe get to the realisation, this is Jesus back from the dead. This is the person we followed. This is the person who we gave our lives to. Maybe kind of when that dawned on them, you kind of think there was probably a wild celebration. Maybe it's the most happy that anyone can be. We've lost this person for good, but now they're back. This is not just a polite cheese and wine do, it's a great party. No doubt there would have been real life in the air as they recounted the old days. Do you remember when Jesus healed that person by the pool? Crazy. Wasn't that brilliant? Do you remember when he had dinner with that tax collector? Oh man, do you remember the look on everybody's faces? What about when he overturned the tables in the temple? That was scary. But afterwards when we were talking about it, oh, crazy. Hey, what about the time when Peter walked on water? You know, Jesus walked towards us. That was awesome. Then Peter getting out of the boat. Remember that, Peter? And you were brilliant. But man, how we all laughed when you started to sink and just the look on your face. And then Jesus pulled you out. We had some great times. I can imagine the party as they recalled these times. But things were different. Things were better now. The Messiah had risen. This really was God. And for this group of followers, everything changed when they encountered Jesus afresh. Everything changed when they encountered him for the second time, the risen God. And so my question to you is simply this. Have you encountered Jesus? Because that's kind of the first base thing, really. We need to discover Jesus for ourselves. If you're sat there this morning and you haven't ever found Jesus, and talk to somebody who you've maybe seen at the front this morning. Ask them how you can do that. It will be the greatest thing you will ever do in your life, to encounter Jesus and ask him to come into your life. If you have encountered Jesus, did it make a difference in your life? Did it make a difference for a long time? Did it kind of go away again? Do you remember this awesome person that wasn't just for the disciples, but is moving powerfully in your life now? Let me encourage you, even today, to just step aside and encounter Jesus afresh. Get to know him afresh. If things have become a little bit dull, if things have become a little bit samey, sit down, pray, talk to him, listen, read the scriptures, acquaint yourself again. Refresh yourself with Jesus, and it will change everything.